Ever feel like a certain painting is following you around? No, just me.
Well, get ready, because today's deep dive is all about an artwork.
Oh, yeah.
So iconic, so shrouded in mystery, that it's practically become a legend. We're talking, of course, about the Mona Lisa,
Of course.
and more specifically, the heists and wild stories she's inspired.
It's true. The Mona Lisa has a way of capturing the imagination, when you say. But you're right, we're not just talking about a stolen painting here. We're
Yeah.
diving into what makes this particular artwork such a magnet for both admiration and, well, let's just say, less than noble intentions.
And there have been some interesting attempts, to say the least. I mean, picture this. It's 1956 and some guy throws acid at the Mona Lisa.
Wow.
Fast forward to 2009, another person, this time, chucks a mug at her. This isn't your average museum-going crowd.
No.
So to even begin to understand why anyone would want to steal the Mona Lisa, we need to understand the mind behind it, right?
Yeah.
Leonardo da Vinci himself.
Absolutely. To grasp the weight of this artwork, you have to understand the artist. And Leonardo was truly one of a kind even back then.
Yeah.
But here's something that might surprise you. He didn't exactly advertise himself as a painter, first and foremost. In fact, he landed his most lucrative gigs by pitching himself as a military engineer.
Wait, seriously? The guy who painted the Mona Lisa was designing tanks and cannons.
Not quite tanks, but you're getting the idea. In 1482, he writes this letter to the Duke of Milan, basically a Renaissance resume.
Okay.
He's boasting about building portable bridges, multi-shot cannons, the works. Painting is almost a footnote.
Wow.
He even designed flying machines centuries before the Wright brothers. Talk about ahead of his time.
Okay, so maybe not tanks, but still,
Yeah.
it's wild. So how does this military engineer become the genius behind the Mona Lisa?
It's all connected. Even as a young apprentice in Verrocchio's workshop, stories circulated about Leonardo outshining the masters. There's one, likely true, about Leonardo painting an angel in Verrocchio's baptism of Christ. The story goes that Verrocchio was so blown away by his student's talent that he basically swore off painting altogether.
Ouch, that's gotta sting. I'd be looking for a new career path too.
Right.
But back to the Mona Lisa.
Oh, sure.
Who was this woman, and why was her portrait the one that became so famous?
Her name was Lisa Gherardini, the wife of a wealthy silk merchant named Francesco del Giocondo.
Okay.
For centuries, her identity was a bit of a mystery.
Right.
But an archivist uncovered a note from 1503 mentioning Leonardo painting her portrait.
Wow.
It was likely commissioned to celebrate a new home, or possibly the birth of their child, though we don't know for sure.
Okay, but tons of rich people got their portraits painted back then.
Right.
What makes this one so special?
Leonardo, being Leonardo, wasn't content with the standard portrait format of the time. He
Right.
was pushing boundaries, innovating with every brushstroke.
Here's where it gets really interesting, right?
Exactly.
One technique that stands out is his use of atmospheric perspective. Notice how the background fades in that hazy way, like you're actually looking off into the distance. Leonardo brought that technique to Italy, creating a sense of depth and realism that was revolutionary for its time.
Now that you mention it, those mountains do look so real.
And then there's sfumato, that smoky, almost mysterious effect around her eyes and mouth. It's created with layer upon layer of translucent paint, building up depth and softness. This wasn't just about beauty, though.
Right.
This technique played into the growing fascination with mysteries and hidden meanings during the Renaissance.
It's like she's thinking, but we can't quite figure out what's on her mind.
Right.
No wonder people would later project their own interpretations onto her smile.
Precisely. And that ambiguity, that sense that she holds secrets, is deliberate.
Right.
It's one of the things that makes the Mona Lisa so captivating, even after all these years. It's almost as if she's inviting you to unravel her mysteries, which might be why some people took things a little too far.
And decided to just walk off with her. So this mysterious smile, this sense of intrigue,
Right.
it all plays into the audacity of stealing the Mona Lisa, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like possessing her secrets becomes more important than just owning a painting.
Right.
And that brings us to 1911,
Yeah.
when the unthinkable happens. The Mona Lisa vanishes from the Louvre.
The world's most famous painting just gone. I can only imagine the headlines.
Oh, it's front page news everywhere. And the best part, the security at the Louvre at the time was,
Oh.
shall we say, a little relaxed.
Relaxed how? Give me the details.
We're talking about a time when museum guards were known to doze off on the job.
Wow.
And get this, the Mona Lisa wasn't even bolted to the wall.
You're kidding.
They just left it there, propped up, like some casual masterpiece that's practically begging to be stolen.
Wow.
So, enter Vincenzo Peruggia, our not-so-mastermind thief.
Right.
How does he manage to pull this off?
It's almost laughably simple. Peruggia was a former Louvre worker, so he knew the museum's layout like the back of his hand.
Right.
On a Monday morning, no less when the museum was closed, he waltzed in, dressed as a museum employee, lifted the Mona Lisa right off the wall, stashed her under his smock, and simply walked out. He even had to remove the protective glass case first.
Wait, hold on. No elaborate schemes, no secret tunnels, no disguises. He just took it.
Pretty much.
Wow.
Though there was one hiccup. The door at the bottom of the service stairs was locked.
Oh, no.
Peruggia had to fiddle with it for a while, even removing the doorknob.
Wow.
Then, as luck would have it, a plumber came along and unknowingly helped him escape.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a lucky break.
This is unbelievable. So the painting vanishes. What happens next?
Chaos. Utter chaos.
Yeah.
The press goes wild, the public is in an uproar, and everyone from art experts to, as you say, armchair detectives has a theory.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a prank? A publicity stunt? Were the Germans behind it? Some even thought the painting was lost forever.
And Peruggia, meanwhile, is he living it up with his newfound treasure?
Not quite. He's lying low, hiding the Mona Lisa in his tiny Paris apartment,
Wow.
believing she rightfully belonged in Italy. He had this misguided sense of patriotism, convinced he was a national hero, returning a stolen treasure.
So he thought he was righting a historical wrong.
Right.
Like those treasures Napoleon looted were practically up for grabs.
Exactly. It's a common misconception.
Right.
And here's where things get even wilder. While the police are scrambling to find the Mona Lisa, another art theft throws a wrench in the investigation.
2 art heists at once. This is where I wish we had that popcorn.
Right.
Spill the tea.
It's called the Affaire de Statuette, the case of the stolen statuettes.
Okay.
A few years earlier, some Iberian sculptures went missing from, you guessed it, the Louvre. And guess who was caught red-handed with them?
Let me guess. Picasso.
Bingo. Well, not just him.
Yeah.
His friend, the poet Guillaume Apollinaire, got swept up in the whole mess, too.
Oh, this is too good. How does Picasso end up entangled in an art theft ring?
It turns out he had bought these statuettes from a shady character named Jerry Pierret,
Right.
who was basically a small-time art thief, pinching artifacts from the Louvre for years and selling them off.
Wow, so Picasso gets dragged into this whole art theft scandal without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Did this actually help Peruggia at all, though? Or were the police 2 steps behind on both cases?
It's hard to say for sure if it directly helped Peruggia, but it certainly created a media frenzy
Right.
and diverted attention.
Yeah.
Picasso was terrified of being deported back to Spain.
Right.
So he and Apollinaire tried to return the sculptures anonymously,
Oh, no.
but the whole thing blew up in their faces.
Wow.
The press had a field day, and the Mona Lisa investigation was put on the back burner for a while.
It's like something straight out of a movie. So we have a missing masterpiece, a confused artist caught in the crossfire, and the police are probably wondering if they should invest in better magnifying glasses. Where do we go from here? 2 years is a long time to lay low, even for a master thief.
Well, that's where we pick up next time. Let's just say even the best laid plans of mice, men, and art thieves often go askew.
Right.
Peruggia's grand scheme hits a snag, and the Mona Lisa takes an unexpected trip to Florence.
Last time on the deep dive, we left our thief, Vincenzo Peruggia, holed up in Paris with the world's most famous painting stashed away like a cheap souvenir. 2 years he kept that up. What finally made him come out of hiding?
Well, like many criminals before him, Peruggia's grand plan had one fatal flaw. He hadn't really thought through the end game. He assumed he'd be hailed a hero. The painting triumphantly returned to Italian soil.
So what was the plan? Just waltz into a museum and say, "Surprise, I found this."
It seems he initially contacted an art dealer in Florence, Alfredo Geri. Word is Peruggia was, after a finder's fee, convinced he was in a strong bargaining position.
I can only imagine Jerry's face. Did he let on that he knew it was the real deal?
Geri was a shrewd businessman, so he played it cool. He agreed to authenticate the painting, even bringing in the director of the Uffizi Gallery, Giovanni Poggi, for a second opinion. Of course, they both knew instantly that this wasn't some amateur copy. This was the real Mona Lisa.
So what happens next? Did they arrest Peruggia on the spot?
Not quite. Poggi, thinking on his feet, convinced Peruggia to leave the painting at the Uffizi for safekeeping, promising a reward later. As soon as the Mona Lisa was back in Italian hands, they contacted the authorities.
Smooth move. I bet the police were kicking themselves for not coming up with that plan.
Yeah.
So Perugia finally has his day in court. Was he celebrated as a folk hero, or did they throw the book out?
It was 1914, and the trial was a media sensation. Perugia played the patriot card for all it was worth, claiming he acted out of love for Italy and outrage over Napoleon's art grabs. And get this, the public, still harboring resentment over those looted treasures, were surprisingly sympathetic.
Wait, so he got off easy?
Let's just say justice was a little more lenient back then, especially with the court of public opinion on his side. Perugia was found guilty, but he only received a sentence of just over a year in prison, and even that was reduced on appeal.
Wow. I guess even botched art heists have their upsides.
Yeah.
So the Mona Lisa goes back to the Louvre, more famous than ever, and Perugia fades into history.
Pretty much, but the Mona Lisa story doesn't end there.
Right.
Fast forward a few decades to World War II, and she's on the move again, this time to escape the clutches of Nazi art thieves.
Talk about a high-stakes game of hide and seek.
It was a race against time. The Louvre's curator, Jacques Jaujard, orchestrated an incredible art rescue mission, secretly moving thousands of artworks, including the Mona Lisa, multiple times throughout the war. They were hidden in castles, abbeys, even a remote salt mine.
A salt mine. They weren't worried about the humidity ruining the painting.
They found a special climate-controlled section within the mine. Jaujard knew the risks, but he also knew the Nazis were obsessed with acquiring valuable art, especially iconic pieces like the Mona Lisa. He was determined to keep it out of their hands.
And he succeeded. The Mona Lisas survived the war, but were there any close calls?
There's actually some mystery surrounding that. While we know the broader strokes of Jaujard's movements, the exact locations and details were kept deliberately vague for obvious reasons. This has led to speculation, even some intelligence reports, suggesting that what the Nazis might have gotten their hands on was a clever copy.
A decoy Mona Lisa. That's brilliant.
It's a possibility. It wouldn't have been out of character for Jaujard. He was playing a high-stakes game of deception, using misdirection and secrecy to protect France's cultural treasures.
So the Mona Lisa we see in the Louvre today, are we looking at the original Leonardo, or could there be a wartime twin out there somewhere?
Most experts agree that the Louvre's Mona Lisa is the real deal. However, even today, with all our technology, there are aspects of this painting we're still unraveling.
Right.
For example, recent analysis using a technique called LAM technology has revealed hidden layers beneath the surface, suggesting possible alterations and even earlier compositions beneath the final masterpiece.
It's like she's a puzzle box of art history.
Yeah.
The original eyebrows, the veil, all those tantalizing clues to how Leonardo worked. Makes you wonder, after all these years, all these attempts to possess her, is the Mona Lisa's real power not in being owned, but in the mysteries she still holds, even from beyond the canvas?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. And there you have it, folks. From Leonardo's workshop to the walls of the Louvre and even a salt mine, the Mona Lisa's journey is a wild ride through art history, thefts, and intrigue. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.